And I'm so excited for our special guest today, Lily Shepard, my friend and about to be yours. So you're going to want to stay tuned in. Check this one out. Let's be honest. Most of us were taught to wait our turn, to tone it down, to save it for later. Later, when the kids are grown. Later, when the timing's right. Later, when you finally stop caring what they think. Well, I'm done waiting. I'm Hannah Hembry Bell, Texas divorce lawyer, mom, and woman who rebuilt her life from the wreckage. This is Not Saving It for Later, the podcast guiding women through divorce and beyond. The place where we stop whispering about what's hard and start talking about what's real. Marriage, divorce, money, motherhood, faith, sex, power, no filters, no fake empowerment, BS. Just straight talk and practical truth for women who are done pretending that everything's fine, because your next chapter isn't waiting on permission, and neither are we. Okay, Lily, I am so thrilled. Number one, to see you. Every time I see you, it just makes my heart feel so happy. And I'm so excited for all you're going to have to share with our listeners today. And thinking about how to introduce you to people. I go back to when I first knew you, and what I think of when I think of Lily Shepard is someone who lives their life out loud, which with so much joy and passion and purpose, where mind, heart, and body are all connected in one, and living that in such a way that inspires others to do the same. And I've thought that ever since I ever first met you. And I know, how would you talk about what it is that you do? Because I know that, even since I've known you, some of the way we talk about it has evolved. So as we catch you at this moment in time, how would you introduce yourself to people meeting you for the first time?
I love that you said that, Hannah, because it's definitely changed and evolved. But I think at this point, what I'm really identifying as is a somatic executive coach. Ooh. And really working with professional women in identity shifting and having them use their body to do that, and having them understand that when you're coming into new levels of leadership, new relationship status, anything new, that change has to take place in the body as well. It can't just be a purely cognitive exercise.
Well, it's so interesting. We already started out straight into it, right? About identity and who we are, because we've known each other now for years. And this is an experience that I have, Lily. I imagine this happens for you. And I used to feel badly about it or weird about it. And people listening, in case you feel the same way, it's hey, when I'm talking to someone, oh, well, what's going on with you lately? I'm okay, right now, as you catch me at this moment in time, this is what's up. This is what's the latest with the podcast or with the book or whatever is happening. But just FYI, if you catch me in 3 months, again, I may tell you something completely different because I'm in the middle of my becoming. And I think that as women who are out there, living a life like the people who are listening to this show, who are living their life. And that does mean taking on new roles and identities all the time as we find more of ourselves. So for what it's worth, I've started saying that when I'm talking to people. I'm okay, where you catch me in this moment, because then if when I don't say it like that, people be wait a minute, I thought blah, 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 and trying to pin me back in.
Doesn't it feel so good to just understand that you don't have to follow this predetermined script? You can start rewriting your story at any point, and just to kind of feel free from the being pigeonholed. Okay, so you saw me 3 weeks ago and I was doing this. Well, now I'm doing that. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm. And it kind of trains the people around you to not know what to expect and to be okay with that. Because a lot of people, we don't realize that we get a lot of our comfort from other people being predictable.
Well, and I think that there's this push-pull, knife's edge or something between being flighty and all over the place, right? Because there could be some element of that. I don't think that describes either of us to anybody who knows us, but there could be that versus, hey, I'm in the middle of my becoming and I give myself permission to evolve as, I don't know, circumstances, my heart, my feet, what I call my feet lead me into this new way of thinking about the thing. So I think that that's really a good segue to think about as we're talking to women who are either thinking about, in the middle of, or, post-divorce, living that custody life, how they are certainly in their becoming, because who they were, if once you're divorced, you're not going to be the same person. I mean, just by function of the fact you'll have at least one less person in your life, right? And I know you're divorced, so I know you can speak to this. Could you talk to us a little bit about, what comes up for you when you think about a woman in the middle of divorce, and like how your work with, and identity and the body, how that kind of fits in there?
Yeah. Well, wow. I think one of the most important things is understanding that everyone says it's a new beginning, and we get that messaging. But a lot of times, I know for me, I was trying to function from an old pattern. Like, I recognize that, okay, there's one less person. I'm a single mom now. Like, I understood on paper the things that were changing in my life, but I was still operating from not a new beginning, from almost like a clinging phase for a while. It took me a while to completely sever, like, this is over, this is old, I need to move forward and start to reimagine my life, not as being defined as what has ended, but like, what am I going towards now? Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time in the, like, what has ended and what's different and what's changed. And that's all very valid. But the faster you're able to move into the new beginning part, it's so much more expansive to think about what's going to happen now. What can I choose to do now? That was the biggest thing for me, because my divorce story is horrific. I mean, really bad. It was not just, oh, we went our separate ways, or, it was very humiliating, very dramatic. There was a lot of drama surrounding everything, and it was probably the worst period of my life.
Yeah, me too. And I think the way I talk about it is we talk about what you're running from. People get really clear in a divorce, I think, for the most part, in what they're running from. And they're running from that asshole on the other side, or whatever it is, abusive situation or something, someone they don't love. They don't usually spend the time to get clear on what they're running toward. And I think, for my own self, had I gotten clear on that, I mean, things would have been very different. And I think it comes from like a survival place at first, at least for women. I think most women are getting divorced, or at least historically in my clients and people I've worked with, maybe some of this is changing, but I know, at least for me at the time, it was about survival. And like, I had to get divorced so I could keep existing as a person on this planet. And I wasn't worried about who I was going to become. I was just trying to stay around, I guess. And I think that had I more quickly connected with who I was trying to become, who I wanted to be, what I wanted that to look like, I could have, flattened that timeline out some.
I mean, and it's a process, right? Because there's grief, there's mourning, there's a loss. And so I want to be careful not to say like, well, you should just, okay, what's next? Who am I becoming, right? You have to have time to process all that has taken place. And when you just can set that intention from the beginning of focusing on who you are becoming and what identity you want to hold now, and not just that of a divorcee or a single mom, because I held on to that for a long time. That was like who I was, such a huge part of my story. It was less about who am I, Lily Shepard, the woman moving forward. It was, I'm divorced, I'm a single mom, this happened. Like, I really clung to those titles, and I wasn't seeing the beautiful opportunity to redefine myself for me.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us, and the temptation for a lot of y'all listening will be to do that. It's like, you go to some sort of a work party or a dinner party or Christmas or something, and you've all met this person who starts talking about their ex and the divorce, and you're thinking it was a last year, last week, last month. And really, this was something that happened 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we talk a lot on the show about, divorce is going to make you bitter or better, and you get to choose. And I think a surefire way to become bitter or to sound bitter or come across as bitter is to stay rooted in that divorcee, single mom, what was identity. And here's the thing, that's backward looking. That's past looking. By defining yourself by something in the past. And when you're turned around looking at the past, right, you're not looking at the future. So I wonder, Lily, I think it bears for us to think about, slow down for just 1 second, about identity. And I have thought a lot about identity in the divorce universe. And for me, what I realized is that most of us build our identities derivatively. We define ourselves in relation to other things. So if you ask somebody like, okay, who are you? You'd be like, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a church member, whatever these things are. And each one of those things relies on something else to define you, right? You're giving that power. Well, I'm a mom means there's got to be some kids. I'm a wife. But so what happens with divorce is it pulls out one of those identities, your wife identity. And what you probably are going to realize, some of y'all listening have, I know I did, you can tell me if this was true for your experience. Once that wife identity was pulled out, you realize you'd built your identity on a house of cards, because the whole thing kind of comes down around you, because you were so defined by everything else, that you were this wife, you were a mom in this certain way, you were a community member, a church member in this certain way. And that, to me, the real process of healing, I'm using quotes, like healing that people talk about, no one back then was telling you anything about healing 10 years ago when I was doing this. But what I've learned in retrospect, like looking backwards, is that it's in stopping placing the power to define who you are in everything and everyone else but yourself. So that now if someone says to me, who are you? I'm brave. I'm strong. I'm kind, right? Those are my own rooted, independent identity that don't require the definition of another. It's like, if you pick me up and drop me off on the other side of the world in the desert,
I'm still this.
I'm still this person. Mm-hmm. And that way, if one of the pieces of my identity is ripped out, maybe I pull it out, someone else pulls it out, disaster, drama, whatever, it doesn't mean my entire personhood collapses like a house of cards. And I think that so many of us miss this. And what's amazing about divorce as this one big moment of life change where they can make a different decision and realize, like, okay, I'm in awareness that I had done this. Okay, I'm in awareness that I've been defining myself by absolutely everyone else. And that's dangerous, because when it goes, I go. What's left? And that's why a lot of women say that, because they can't imagine a life where they're not a wife. They've been a wife since they were 20 years old, and they're 40 now. Now what? Who is that person? So, like, for someone in that spot, Lily, who's, either just thinking about and getting divorced or in the beginning, and they've been married a long time, and they've been defining themselves and their identity by being a wife for a long time, what advice would you give to them to start looking forward to a new way of thinking about themselves, a new identity?
It's interesting, because in looking forward, it may require them to look back in a positive way at what things that they might have abandoned in taking on this role of wife. So many things. For me, it was dance and movement. It never occurred to me during my marriage, but once I got divorced, how much less I was dancing, how much I wasn't moving my body. And I didn't think about it, because I was embodying this role, and I was wife, and I was in service to my husband and my family. But when I thought about it, I'm like, wow, this is something that I've loved to do since I was a child. I'm not doing it. And I wouldn't have even thought about it. I didn't even have the awareness to think about it because I thought, hey, this is life now. Oh, all the things that I loved to do before when that was just, I was young.
Kid stuff.
Kid stuff, right? Hobbies, fun stuff, just the things that made me feel really good. I like to walk around the block as the sun is setting. Well, can't do that anymore. We got to cook dinner, right? Certain things just got replaced with other tasks and other duties. And okay, well, that's just how it goes, but it doesn't have to be, right? So I think first kind of looking back at what things that used to really light me up have I maybe abandoned during this time, and I want to start putting back into my life, like things that really made me feel settled, made me feel safe, brought me some joy. How can I start filling the space with those things?
Okay. So maybe the first thing they could do is look back to what they left behind. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so powerful. I think all of us in that moment, and part of it is the wifeness, part of it is the momness, it's the growing up things. And I think that we try to, or allow others, I don't know what it is, but convince ourselves that those things we enjoy, that's kid stuff.
Yeah, and it has no place, right? Mm-hmm. It's not important. It loses its level of importance. We don't see it as significant. Right? It's not moving us forward necessarily, but that's the lie.
So once she's done that, once she's thought backwards and like, okay, here are the things that are missing. All right. And then how else do you help coach people through connecting with the new person they want to be? What if they don't know?
Most people don't.
Right.
Most people don't know exactly who this new person is, but what they need to do is create a form of safety. They need to feel safe in their own body and in their nervous system, because being divorced and detaching from this identity, it doesn't feel safe inside, and that manifests in headaches, tension, not sleeping well. I mean, I was physically a wreck when I was going through my divorce, and I wasn't ill necessarily, but my body felt different. And at that time, I didn't have the language to describe what was happening. But a lot of it, I spent a lot of time in fight or flight, right? I had court dates, and I was bracing, right? So my body was holding so much tension because I was always waiting for another shoe to drop or something else to come up in the discovery or something bad to happen, that I had kind of developed almost like an armor that I carried with me all of the time. So first, creating safety in the body. And for me, movement, that's what helped me to do that. That's when I started exploring yoga. And I was always a dancer, right? Movement was always a part of my life, but it was always training, right? And stage performance. And I started to explore, what does this feel like when I just move to release? Because all of this that I feel inside, it has to go somewhere. It has to go somewhere. I knew that what I was feeling was not healthy for me and not sustainable. So that was a big part of my story, was like tapping in. I think I wrote it in my book, and I've shared this story with you of how I just felt like I had had enough. And I just heard a voice that said, move. And I just, in my room, had this cathartic experience. I danced, I jumped, I shook. I looked crazy if someone would have been. Yeah. It wasn't anything pretty or dance-like at all. But boy, I felt like after that, I had a much clearer idea of who I wanted to be moving forward. And it's crazy because I wasn't searching for that. I didn't say, well, let me move, and through this movement, I'm going to find out who I want to be. It was nothing like that, but that's what happened. And that's what made me believe in the power of somatics and moving things through the body and releasing emotions through movement. That's why I believe in it so strongly, because I felt that.
And you've said that word a couple of times now. So for those of us like squares, what does somatic mean?
It's just the body. Soma, the root of the word is soma, which means the body. So it's just, that's really it. Anytime, it's a kind of almost a buzzword now. Yeah. It's like somatic therapy and somatic healing and somatic experiencing. Anytime you hear somatic, you can just substitute the word body, and that's what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, okay, so first thing they're going to do is look backward to see all the places they've abandoned themselves. The next thing they're going to do is create safety through the body. Okay. And then after they've done that, okay, I'm going to come back to that in a second.
Right,
but
because
I'm trying
how
to
do you do that?
Yeah, I know that I have a lot more questions about that. But like, okay, so just so they can get the framework in their brain. So like for me too, is after they've gotten the safety in their body, once they've established that, how do they put some meat on the bones of what that future them is like? How do they connect with that identity?
Mm-hmm. Imagination first, right? Just feeling into who this new woman is and really taking time and making it an exercise. I think we get older and we have all these responsibilities and imagination seems childish, right? But really, when I really close my eyes and I think about the woman that I want to become, what do I see? What does she look like? Where is she? What's she wearing? What is she eating? Who is she talking to? How is she speaking? All of these things. Really getting a very clear picture and then starting to write those things down so that it stays with you. And then really doing your best to move as that woman. Move as that woman, like exactly how you saw her in your imagination. You don't have to like wait to become her. You just start moving as
What
her.
if they don't feel like that yet though? Like
you won't feel like that.
Okay.
You absolutely will not feel, you feel like you're playing pretend.
Okay.
Honestly, right? Like I'm pretending to do this. Doesn't matter. Keep doing it. Let it be fun. Okay, so you're pretending. Okay. Who cares? You know, but you're trying something on and kind of letting it take root, because what happens if you don't do that, you'll think about it. She'll just be a thought. She'll exist only in your imagination and never move into any kind of form.
Well, and I guess for me, this piece right here, I've only recently started to experientially understand what people are saying. Because all over the Instagrams and the internets, people will tell you to envision this person in the future. And I've always struggled with that. Like, okay, I mean, I don't know. And even the question. So it's like, okay, going through the series of questions, what is she like? Seeing her. I have a hard time. In my own mind, I cannot picture myself. I don't see my own self. Because we experience ourselves through our own eyeballs, right? So I'm not looking at me all the time. The internet, I'm on the internet all the time. But it's like I would kind of get stuck there. So for me, though, once I started to say, okay, somebody asked me the question, like this person, maybe giving them a tagline, the woman always courageous and walks into the room with confidence. Okay, so like giving her a name, the confident woman, let's just say. So like it's Jill. Jill's getting divorced and trying to figure out, okay, what is Jill's like self she wants to become? Well, maybe she has confidence, right? When she walks into a room, people notice and they seem to like sort of look her way or whatever that is. And then giving her a name and then asking yourself, okay, what would confident Jill do in this situation? How would she react? How would she respond to this message from the X Factor?
And you can start small, right? Maybe it's a song that makes you feel like that person, an outfit, one thing. You don't have to like completely envision this whole other you and a whole other life and how they do every single thing. It can be really small to start. Music is a great portal, right?
Yep. I mean, for me, I am absolutely enamored with this artist, Spencer Sutherland. Have you heard any of his music? Oh man, all I got to do is pop that music on and I am a saucy, sassy little thing. It's like take what I normally am and turn it up by like 10. So I know what you mean, right? And then I put that on and all of a sudden I am like ready. That's what you're doing.
Feel it in the body. And that is like the work that I do with clients. It's like, okay, we actually go through exercises to, one, release the old identity, right? And to be able to express that through the body, not just in words. And then start to move as this person, because the body is the vehicle that's going to carry you through your new life. You know, it's the thing. So how do we start moving as that person? How do we feel safe to be that person?
Before we go any further, let me ask you something. What if you didn't have to Google your way through divorce at 2 a.m.? What if you actually had a place with real women to talk to, real answers in real time? That's The Circle. It's where I go live every single week, unpack the hard stuff, and help you stop spinning. Go to myconfidentdivorce.com/circle because confusion costs more than clarity ever will. I cannot wait to see you in there. A tool I recommend for every client that I work with and every woman that I would meet on the street is called Our Family Wizard. And y'all, this app, this website changed my life. I cannot overstate its impact because we all know that the hardest part, once you're done with the whole divorce thing and you've got your papers, it isn't the decree, it isn't the calendaring, it's the communication. Because if you're in a situation like I'm in, you will get messages from everywhere. Text message, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. Now, I mean, it's even worse with all the social media, phone calls, direct messages. It goes on and on. But what Our Family Wizard does is brings that all into one place. So you have one place to check for messages, one place to be interrupted from your daily life to deal with the whole co-parenting situation. And like, in addition to the messaging, it does amazing things like tracks expenses in real time so you don't have to argue about who did what with what receipt. It does calendar entries so you're not like, oh wait, sorry, I never got that invite, and you have that whole BS where you're not sure what to do. You can check in real time if you're ever worried about a future enforcement of the provisions in your decree or your judgment. This app changes lives, and they've got special promotions and deals for listeners of the show. You can get access to those at ourfamilywizard.com/HHB. And, I think, and we've talked about this before, Lily, but I think for those of us regular folks, the idea that we need to connect with the body and the way people talk about it, right? And you're going to get safety in the body. I feel like there's a bit of a logical jump there from the way it's normally thought of, right? I think a lot of us don't live in the awareness that everything we experience through the body. Otherwise, you're like a brain in a jar, like on Pinky and the Brain or whatever that old cartoon was. But this notion, I think we have to stop at like the number 2 step, right? They're going to get safety through the body. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit more, because I think most of us women left our body behind. We're mad at our bodies. We're mad at them for not being as skinny as we want them to be.
Yeah, it's an object. You just push it, pull it, mold it, shape it the best way you can, and that's all it's there for. Like I'm up here. I'm making everything happen. The body, what is that? That's just, that's there to attract. That's there to give life.
And I think there's this otherness in the way most of us operate. Like you're pointing at your brain and being like, I'm up here, right? Like that's where we're operating from. And the body is almost like this robot that's like moving around while we do the gears inside of our brain, like on Inside Out, right? That they're moving, like we're almost doing that. And it's this otherness to the body. And I don't think I started to understand that that's the default way of thinking for the average woman until I started to unthink that way a little bit, of this more merger between the way you think and feel in your heart and your body's experience, right? And that's how you ever get present. So if you're truly present in a situation, what you've done, I think, is merged mind, heart, and body in one, and boom, it's like a blankness. And so I think, though, taking a second to talk about, for all of us, like where I was when I was getting divorced at 30 years old, and my body had betrayed me. Like I was mad at it. And I spent a lot of my life being mad at my body for being a little bit too soft in the tummy, and or not being a fast runner, or wanting things it wasn't supposed to want, and supposed to, in quotes, supposed to want, and still having those wants even though they were really inconvenient, like wanting a bigger life, wanting to feel a certain kind of way, and then not being able to ignore it either, right? And so how do we get over that as women when we're in this whole new becoming when really the relationship we've developed with our bodies, like you're saying, we have to get safe through our bodies. But right now, most of us, I think for the most part, are just mad at our bodies all of the time. So like, where do they start with it feeling other? And it's an other that we're mad at. Like, how do we somehow then get safety in that space?
Well, first of all, you have to be able to express that. Everything that you express so beautifully, a lot of that stays trapped inside. That's something that we're having an actual conversation about. And I'm excited for your listeners, right? Because this is like, wow, I know so many people can relate to what you just said, but it never goes anywhere. It never goes beyond women's thoughts, right? So an exercise that I like to do is writing a letter to the body. Just that's the very first step.
Ooh, even just when you're starting to say that, it's making me start to cry.
Dear body, you know, you can air your grievances. You can apologize.
Yeah, my first words were, dear body, I'm so sorry. I think for me, and I think probably for a lot of people, it's like, that is hard because something in us knows that's not the right way to do. And it was a betrayal to do it, but we don't know what else to do. Like for me, recently, like not long ago, I had this moment where I was like totally in sync and in one. And like what came up out of me was like being so angry at my body for desire. And I'm just saying every kind. To want. And I literally said the words, if I could never want something again, I would fucking do it. Like, I hate to want. And that's what the body does. It wants. It hungers. It craves. And I think that we don't spend, most of us who are not Lily Shepard, don't spend much of our lives sitting okay with that feeling. The craving. I wrote a poem one time, Lily, and maybe we can put it in the show notes, but lions don't skip dessert, I think is what it was called. And just talking about this, like, this lion inside who's like hungry for meat. And I'm always my brain me is like, hush, you are so inconvenient, like be quiet. And that dichotomy between us. And I think that that's where people getting divorced, like something in them is starting to listen to that person and listen, not person, that us, that part of us that we left out of the equation because you don't hear much like telling women to want more.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could talk the whole time about the societal messages that we receive, right? Not only do you're not supposed to want more, if you express wanting more, that means you're not grateful for what you have. It's ridiculous, the things that get layered and layered onto us from children, you know, of like not wanting more, desire, your appearance, how your body is to be shaped, to be, accepted, what you deserve based on what your body looks like. It's ridiculous. And so it does take a lot. And the letter is a very, very first step, but so much comes out because it's never addressed. It's never addressed. And also how much our bodies are just for others to look at and deem attractive or unattractive, for us to house and feed babies, never for us. For pleasure, for our partner, our husband, never for us. It makes me angry when I think about the messages that we receive and how little there is to counteract those things.
Oh, it makes me feel so sad. Like I'm sitting here, if you're listening to this, and I'm just like so teary. I'm so surprised. But I think just like on behalf of all the women and like how wrong we feel, generally speaking, like when we connect with the body. I mean, I'm thinking about like going back to junior high church, Southern Baptist. Good Lord, lest you think about what your body might want, right? And the lifetime of unlearning. And I think women in divorce, there's more than likely, not in every situation, but in a lot of situations where, you know, there's not like direct abuse and things like that. But like some part of them is saying, is it isn't there something more out there for my, and they're not completely in the sense for this body to experience, right? And we leave off that phrase. And I think that's where a lot of the shame of divorce and stuff comes. Because like, if you were really dead fucking honest and said why women did, why are they getting divorced? Somewhere at the root of it is because I want more. Can you imagine if you told people and they said, well, why are y'all getting divorced? Because I want more. Can you imagine how they would look at you?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I'd say, good for you, sister. You deserve more. And I think that what we do instead is like, oh, well, we need a good reason. And that reason better be.
Yeah.
Oh, he better have cheated on you.
Right. We compare, like, well, but I want more, but I should really be grateful because I have this and this and this other woman.
My kids are healthy.
Right. My kids are healthy, well, he does work really hard. And we start to go down a hole of like disqualifying why we want more, or we feel like it needs to be justified, or we start saying, well, at least.
Yes, at least.
At least this, at least he does this. Well, it could be worse, He doesn't beat me, or, he's gainfully employed, or, he is a good dad. We'll find all of the things and won't just make it a complete full sentence. I want more, period.
Well, and just the radical truth of that, if people are really honest listening, underneath all of it and all the justifications and all the reasons, aren't you saying that? And it may make you really uncomfortable. And the more uncomfortable, we talked in another episode about being triggered, right? And like the more triggered or more uncomfortable it makes you, the more opportunity for learning and wisdom in it. Because if you're really triggered by saying, I want more, and like the idea of saying that to someone makes you want to throw up. Good. There is where you can dive in with some of these things like Lily is telling us, of owning that. Like, just what if what we did is we put on a Post-it note, I want more. And just like, period. Not because, not after, not when. I want more, period. I just put that on a Post-it, like on your work desk, just to remind you every day that is a complete sentence. And as far as I know, I can speak for Lily. Lily and I are concerned, that alone is enough of a reason. That's it. You want more. Okay. And I wonder, Lily, in addition to like writing the letter, I think that is such a smart idea. Like, even when we talked about it, I started to cry. Like, dear body, I'm so sorry for how ugly I was to you. And I'm so sorry for how I treated you like you were, leftover trash in a dumpster full of raccoons. How I pushed you when you were tired. And how I was mad at you because you had to have C-sections. And I was angry with you that you couldn't breastfeed. Oh man, the list could go on. And to say that out loud and deposit it somewhere, right? Because the body keeps the score. So it knows that you think that, right, about it. Mm-hmm. You don't have any other experience in this world except for in your body. So writing that letter, I think, is a huge practical thing that people can do to see like what's in there. Like, if you're anything like me, even listening to this, like, what is the sentence? Like, do yourself the favor of doing what Lily is telling you to do. Take 20, 30 minutes on a Friday night. I always think of Friday night as the moment to do this. It's like at the end of the week, everybody else is settled. He's watching some football. Right now it's football season when we're recording this. I'm watching football on TV, and you can, sit with yourself and do this. So like, they've done that. Lily, are there other practical things they can do to start to access safety around their body? And because I guess the logic here is you can't align with and start living through your body in a new identity that helps you get there until it feels safe to live in this body. So that's what we're talking about. So like, is there anything else they need to be doing?
There's a plethora of things that can be done. I think one of the most practical things, right, that I would say, well, what is one simple thing that a woman can do that she's trying to reconnect with her body and trying to feel safe in her body? Realizing first awareness of like when something is coming up, right? Like, okay, you had an emotional reaction to talking about writing the letter to the body. Okay, something's coming up for me, right? For me, this is a simple gesture. I just press down here. It's like,
It's on your heart.
yep. And it's just and it doesn't need to be this super, whatever idea that you have as you're listening of like, I'm going to put my hands to my heart and take a deep breath and press. And it's this whole like woo-woo esoteric thing. I promise you that it's not, right? It's something that you can do anywhere. It's simply acknowledging something's coming up for me. I'm honoring that. I'm here. I'm present in my body. I'm choosing to feel safe. The end. Okay? It's an acknowledgement, because what happens is so many things happen that trigger us, that anger us, that makes us upset. And it just keeps loading on top. And you wonder, why is my jaw so damn tight? Why is my forehead always scrunched up? Why are my shoulders up to my ears? Why is my gut feel crazy, right? It's because there's never an acknowledgement of all of the things. We feel things in physical sensation. Those things happen. And so just to be able to take a moment, and even if it's not heart, maybe, okay, I don't want people looking at me. I'm in my office. I'm pressing my hands to my heart. That feels weird. Okay, press your hands together, right? Just find some small gesture that allows you to feel present in your body and that reminds you, it's okay. You know, I'm going to be good. I'm good.
Yeah, to me, it's sort of like what I feel is like this, like rocking, like you'd rock a baby a little bit, like, and just,
Yeah. Everyone has their, and sometimes it's something that you already do subconsciously, right? Because your body is that's how most of your subconscious patterns are running. You don't even know, you know? So sometimes there are things that you might even do that you're not aware that you do that are self-soothing. I have a bunch of things. I rock a lot. I'm always kind of rubbing my leg, you know, just things that, and I don't care, right? People a lot of times say, well, don't you feel funny if you press your hands to your heart or if you like tap here? No, there's so much going on in this world. You think people are worried about me tapping on my arm, trying to create some safety for myself? You know, it's like we got to get out of our own way sometimes with things and do the things that make us feel good and feel safe and feel all right to move forward and not be worrying about what people think. Small things. So just find something. A woman I know, I worked with her and she found it very comforting. She had like a stone that she would just have, and it was just like her little, almost like, you know, Linus in the blanket, a little thing. She's not going to carry a blanket everywhere, but she could put a stone in her handbag, in her pocket, and just like, okay, she touches it, it feels good. It's a reminder. It like brings her back. Okay, I'm good. I'm safe. Let me take a deep breath and move forward with whatever I'm doing.
I have this pink, I guess it's a rose quartz about the size of my palm that my friend gave me, and it's in my office. If I'm on a Zoom and like I will grab that, and it's just the size of my palm, and I mean I guess I didn't even know I was doing it. But this sort of like centered on something earthy. I mean, to just keep me rooted as I'm going through like, spreadsheets, blah, whatever it is that we're working on.
And these practices, I can't say enough how they've changed my life. And I know to maybe some women listening, like this all seems like, wow, writing a letter to my body and pressing on my heart and all of this is new and different to me. And I just want to say, like, I don't know where I would be without a lot of these practices. I was someone that was holding so much through my divorce process, and just having small things that I could do and that connected me to how I'm feeling in the moment. I disregarded it for so many years. How I'm feeling, who gives a shit about how I'm feeling? This is what I have to do, right? And so I just never cared enough to do tiny acts of care for myself. Tiny, small things that just made me feel okay.
Well, and I think that one of the things when you're getting divorced, if you're the one who initiated it, and even if you aren't, like one of the things that's going to happen is You're going to live in a different set of circumstances and you're going to be a different person. All right. So if you always do what you always done, you're always going to get what you always got. So it's time through this process. If you don't want to end up bitter, which I'm assuming everybody listening does not want to end up bitter, it's time for some new strategies and techniques to get you through to the other side. You've probably never really thought about this stuff. And I welcome you / I guess foreshadow for you listening that one of the hardest things you're going to do that no one talks about in divorce is get used to feeling good. Now, they'll talk to you about the bad and try to get you through survival. And, that's what the algorithm will catch because you're worried about feeling bad. And some of you don't even believe me. But I have to tell you, it's actually, at least for me, been a lot more challenging to accept feeling good than it was to weather the bad. Because, we're conditioned. I can work hard. I can buckle down. I can batten down the hatches. I can do what needs to be done. I can be hardworking and all those things. I can survive. I am tough. I am selfless. Like all of that stuff that everyone praises. Like, of course, you can do that. You've already done it. If you have children on this planet, you've already done it. Okay. What not as many people are good at doing, and I certainly have not been, this is a 10 years later still working on it thing, is just let it be good. And if you're in the middle of it, you may think, I am in the middle of surviving. But some of y'all listening, y'all are on the back end of this. Maybe you can see this as a light at the end of the tunnel. But letting good things happen to you is one exercise you'll have to start. And for me, because here's the thing, if you don't let the good in, the good ain't going to get in. And for me, it looked like, and I realized this in like spending time with my best friend, Kate, like I associated pleasure with pain. Like if something felt good, something bad was about to happen. And it wasn't like I don't have that sort of doomsday thinking attitude, but there was this bracing. And like growing up in church, if you were like making out with the boy and that felt good, well, you're surely going to go to hell in 5 minutes, right? So this idea that good things actually are bad, that was rooted down to the depths of myself. Like I would have never chosen the best piece of cake at the birthday, even at my own birthday. I would have always made do and let everybody else have these other things. And so what's been challenging for me in the last year, 2 years, is just to tell myself, like, just let it be good. Like, don't search, don't look for problems, don't look for reasons. Don't try to assure yourself that it's going to be like this forever. For something to be good and for you to enjoy it doesn't mean it has to be permanent. But I think, and Brene Brown, I know, talks about this, that the most, like the scariest human emotion is joy, because we're afraid of that other shoe dropping, right? So I think that there's the exercise of like the undoing of the shitty stuff. But I'm just gonna warn y'all that right after that, for you to achieve this next level of identity of that woman you say you want to be, who it lives in abundance, who has money, who has an amazing partner, who is healthy, who has a lot of fun and great girlfriends and hobbies and all of that. The thing is, that shit ain't coming unless you let it in. And probably the nervous system, like the way you work inside yourself. Nervous system is another one of those things people are talking about all the time, but they don't slow down and say what it means. It's like just the emotional set point, like how you operate in your day. That part of you is probably not, if you're in the middle of a divorce or going through it, programmed to allow all of this good stuff in. So Lily, I don't know what you have to say to that for the people who are in that moment where, okay, they understand like the survival thing. They're not in the middle of that and they're ready to become, more aligned with that future identity self of them. Like, do you have any thoughts on letting the good in?
Best case scenario, that has been life-changing for me. Because like you spoke to, I was always a person that thought, can't let it get too good, because then when it gets bad, it's going to be like a big drop off. And now I'm going to be really hurt. And if I just never have it at all, then it doesn't matter, right? But thinking about my life in terms of best case scenario, and letting go of this idea that I have to plan for the worst and I have to have all these contingency plans. And if this doesn't go the way that I want, what if I just thought everything is going to go the way that I want it to go? That's crazy. That's delusional. You know what?
Maybe. Okay.
It's been serving me quite well, right?
People could give it a shot.
That's what I entertain. And, I'm not a fool. I know that just because I plan for this, I don't have the final say of how everything is going to turn out. But it's kind of a rewiring of when I think of my life or plans that I want to put in place. Well, let me start thinking of what's the best case scenario? What is the best possible way that this could work out? And that's where I focus my energy. Because a lot of times you're giving so much into under the guise of planning and wanting to be prepared and needing to, armor up and be ready to fight whatever happens. And I get that. But best case scenario, what's so scary about that? Why can't that be a part of it as well?
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking. Like, what's the best case of scenario? And I think I'll have that.
Yes.
I'll take some more of best case scenario things. I'm literally, as you're saying this, thinking of some situations where I've been like bracing because I'm really making some big moves in my own life right now. And also, I've been saying, I've literally said the words worst case scenario probably about half a dozen to a dozen times in the last few days. Because my brain, it's like, okay, here's how great this could go. That's obvious. It's not that obvious, actually.
But Hannah, what's obvious is you're so brilliant, you're so capable, so why not? If it doesn't go that way, I'm brilliant, I'm capable, I know full well I can figure it out. I don't need to have all this extra, put all of this thought and energy into what will happen. I know and I trust that if the worst happens, I got that. But as far as like where my focus and energy and attention is going to go, it's going to go best case scenario because that's what I like.
Well, and here's the superpower that divorced people have is we've already faced the worst case scenario.
Period.
Obviously things can always get worse, of course. But like in general, we've already faced, our marriage fell apart, our family fell apart, our kids went through a bunch of shit, even if the divorce went good. So we've already lived that. So the question would be, have you lived yet your best case scenario? And like, I guess for me, and that I align with that, like where I am now of living in that way. And also as we get older, that's one of the benefits of being over 40, right? Is like, okay, I can look back and all the different things that didn't go that great from the outside ended up being for my highest and best outcome. And so I can look at those and be like, you know what? Even if things kind of turned out shitty, shitty in quotes, in the moment, what wouldn't have been my choice, actually, that my divorce is the best thing that ever happened to me. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation if I didn't get divorced. Right. And so there's this Bible verse, right? His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. And don't let me lose any of you at Bible verse. It's just this idea of like the universe, whatever you believe in, like it's so much bigger than us. And so I take such comfort in that of like, if, it's like that Garth Brooks song, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. I don't know if you remember that from 1,000 years ago in the 90s. But I remember, praying when I was in high school that I could marry my high school boyfriend. Oh man, whoa, if only God would do this for me. And we broke up and didn't even, make it beyond that. And looking back now, I'm like, that would have been the worst, the worst possible thing.
And that's the thing, as we sit here and I think it's changing for like our kids, right? Where it's like, my daughter's not thinking about who to marry. You know what I mean? Like the way that some of these roles and the things and the expectations for us were so different in high school. And it was so much more important to be a mother, to start a family, to be loved by someone, to, all of these things. And I just feel like these kids today, I love what I see from them because it feels, they have their own issues, right, with screens and things and not getting outside. But as far as not kind of almost being indoctrinated into the goal of life being a family, right, and being encouraged to find an individual path, I think is kind of cool. And that's something that I definitely see, you know, with my children, because it was like, oh my God. And I wasn't even a big, like, I can't wait to be a mom, but get married. Oh my God. Yes, of course. How validating.
Yeah, I was 21.
You know?
You're right. And I think that that's what we get to do. I mean, to model for them, right? I think so many women don't live a life that they would wish that their kids would live. So like, how would you wish for your kids to live? Well, I'd want them to be thinking about what's the best thing that could happen and follow their dreams and all that. So we tell them all those words, but then are you modeling doing that with your own life? So like, if you need a reason to do this, that you wanting more isn't enough. If that's not enough, then one reason could be so that you model for your children a life that's lived out loud, that's lived on purpose. And I think in talking with you, Lily, and I know that this is the work that you do with women, it's this giving ourselves permission to want and to get. Ultimately, is to want a thing and then to get that thing. Because I think it takes both. To me, there was this wanting to admit to myself that I wanted something meant that I didn't have it currently, and that felt uncomfy. And then I got a little bit used to that. And then it was about, okay, when the thing shows up, the happiness, the joy, the health, the money, the esteem, award, whatever the things are that I wanted, as they showed up, to allow them in is the journey. And I think that's the mirror side. There's a lot of play on figuring out what you want, but I don't think there's the most play with allowing it in. And then like next level judo for anybody who's on this part of the journey, what I found is the things I thought I wanted, and then I let them in, and then lo and behold, once they showed up, they really didn't mean all that much to me anymore, because I didn't need them to prove my worth. Which, like, I wanted the money or I wanted the awards or whatever the things were in the beginning, and then by the time I let them in and they got here, I was like, I'm good. I'm good with me.
What a gift to be free of needing that, right? Innate worth, your innate value as a woman to this world, whether or not you have a husband, whether or not you are a mother, whether or not you have a lot of money, whether or not you have awards and accolades. And we get very far removed from that and to this idea that we need these things to be worthy of. It's ridiculous. You have inherent worth as a human being.
Yeah, I did a webinar one time, and this was not even the point of the webinar, but a gal in there, it was about the My Confident Divorce stuff and helping people get prepared to get divorced without losing their kids, money, and sanity. And there was a woman in there, we were just talking about planning and getting ready, and somehow she brought up something about, well, I don't know if I deserve a different life. And I was sort of like, whoa, hold the phone. And other women were chiming in. And I said, with all my heart, and I say it to anybody listening now, you are worthy because you exist. Period. Not because of some utility or some usefulness or some beauty or any of those other things. You are worthy because you exist. And because you exist and you're worthy, you get to have good stuff. Like, what do you feel, dear reader, listener, when I say to you, you are worthy because you exist? And that means you get to have good stuff. What sentence comes up in your mind? Is it, oh, must be nice for you, Hannah. Oh, but there's still, starving children in the world. Oh, but there's still war. Oh, but you don't understand what I've done. Like, whatever the rest of that sentence is, I think is such a gift for you to sit in for a minute. Lily, whenever I say that, what sentence comes up for you? Like, you're worthy because you exist and you get to have good things. What do you hear?
I've completely accepted that at this point in my life.
Yeah.
It's been a journey to get there and uncovering a lot of beliefs that I realized didn't originate with me, right? There's a lot that when we start to think about beliefs that we have or values, and like, did this actually come from my own heart, from my own mind, or is this just what I saw modeled, or what just, in my family was kind of passed down, or what I was taught? And taking a minute to identify all that. So when I hear that now, I'm like, hell yeah, but it took a while to get there. It took a long while to get there. I'm 44 for you listeners. So, and I'm just getting there, but it's a great place to be.
It's an option, because here's the thing. Lily and I both were young, married gals who got divorced through messy situations. And both of us had no money and felt like pieces of shit. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
And now when I say the sentence out loud, I'm worthy because I exist and I get to have good things, what I hear is, that's actually true. So I think there's some function of doing the work, in quotes, thinking about these things. And I've said the quote a million times if I've said it once, the degree to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. So like, that's what I think of healing and growth is like, can you see this truth? Like, if there is another part of that sentence that comes up for you, can you sit with that for a minute? And probably if you do, you probably won't die. Like, that's what I needed somebody to tell me back then. That icky feeling, that yucky thought, it won't kill you.
Well, we run from it. Mm-hmm. We run from it.
But here's the thing. It's like finally doing your taxes. Like, just get it done. Like, just sit in it for a minute. And its power is your fear of it. Its power is your delay of it. But when you actually sit in it, every storm runs out of rain. And you can actually deal with the thing in front of you, right?
Yeah. But it's scary, Hannah.
I know.
Uncovering those, like, really thinking about that shit when you haven't your whole life. I mean, really uncovering the layers and sitting with my body. Why have I been this way to my body? Why do I feel like I don't deserve nice things? Why do I feel like I need X, Y, and Z to be able to let good things into my life? I mean, those are the kind of questions that can rip you open.
Well, and here's the thing. Ladies, you are going to be faced with these exact thoughts post-divorce if you will let it happen, because your life will get quieter. Like, you're just not going to have another person next to you on the couch every night. At least probably some portion of your time, your children won't even be there. And it's going to be you and you. And you can either settle in and do the work that Lily and I are talking about, even if it's scary, and sitting with it, or you can mask it with a million other distractions. But here's the thing. If you choose not to sit a minute with what's happening, working with someone like Lily and the coaching that she does for executive women to do this exact work, if you don't sit and do that, then the most likely outcome is for you to make the exact same mistake all over again, to marry from pick-me energy, to marry your daddy and all of his, a version of your daddy and all of his problems, to marry to make yourself feel whole, to marry to make yourself worthy of existing, right? If you don't own these lessons in this barren land post-divorce and like learn to grow a crop from the dry desert, then you are most likely destined to run back around that track again, right?
Facts, yeah. There's no way around it.
Yeah, it's not over or under, it's only through. That little phrase, I'm gonna let y'all all have it. Not over or under, it's only through. I say that to myself. It's sort of like getting fit. It ain't over or under, it's only through. There's only one way to do it. You have to move your own butt, period. Right? You can't delegate it, you can't delete it, you can't skip it, whatever. Same thing with this work. The way out is in.
And it's so much better on the other side.
It is. It's worth it. I mean, and just let these two gals who've been in the tar pit tell you, and we're trustworthy, you can believe us. We're not like Instagram gals you don't know selling you some bill of goods. I ain't trying to sell you nothing. It's the truth. I just want people to live lives that don't medium suck. I think most women, and I think actually most men, like I think this is probably true for men. I just don't know how to talk to them about their own journey of this, but it's just not my lane. But most people are content to live a life that like medium sucks. Maybe it's not the worst thing ever, but it's definitely not their best case scenario.
Yeah. Oh man, I think most people. I think you're right. I think most people are conditioned to do that. And hell no is what I have to say about that. Like, hell no. What would happen? And that's another exercise to think about. What is it about living the fullest life why does that feel like so far off? Like, oh, that's for other people. Hannah, that's great for you. You know, that I couldn't do that. Why? Why not? What is wrong? We have the time between birth and death, and we don't know when death is coming. So why not want to have the most full experience that you possibly can? And full is relative. It doesn't mean the busiest or going on the most vacations or whatever it means to you to be full and feel worthy and to have pleasure and to have joy. Why not that?
I'm certainly every single day trying to do that. You know, I think people theoretically agree with that idea when we're sitting here talking about it.
The road, though.
When it's that calendar and the next Zoom invite, that's me. Like everything that gets piled into the schedule, my life is not going the way that I need and want it to go if there isn't white space in my calendar. And this particular week, there ain't any. Right? So I mean, I need to drink my own Kool-Aid. The name of the show is Not Saving It for Later. And actually, I have to say this, like, truly, Lily, you are an inspiration for not saving it for later. I remember you said to me, later is a lie. And I remember a brunch we were at with our very darling, wonderful friends, and they were going on and on about their business, and you're just sitting there cool as a cucumber, not activated, not worried. Now, you weren't running the same situation, but still you said, where are you in all of that? But are you having a good time? I remember that little like earworm, like you catching me, like your mama catching you by the ear. And like #heard. I hear you. And I think about that still often about, but where am I in this? Did I write my own self out in my own life? So when it comes to not saving it for later, we ask everybody, what that brings up for them, like what they think about. So I don't know, what's your response to the name of the show, this idea of us saving things for later? What do you have to say?
I just love it so much. I love it so much. I am just here for women to fully express themselves and be in full expression. So I am going to always be that friend that's like, yes, get the expensive bottle of wine. Yes, wear the dress that is probably a little bit too fancy for this event. Yes, book the trip, do the thing. I mean, because like I said, we have this time, birth and death. We don't know when the death is coming. So maximize it, maximize it. Why save anything for later? Because later is a lie, right? One, you just might not be walking this earth. But two, even if you are, things happen, things come up, later doesn't come. Well, now something else is put in my path. And so it's a lie. Really what you have is now. So I love the name of the show, and I love being the friend that is always supporting my friends in not saving it for later and doing the thing.
There's nothing I know Lily Shepard is just saving for later. She is all in going. Okay, now what about, is there anything lately you've listened to, watched, read that's shaken you? Like a book, a TV show, an article, an Instagram meme that's just kind of shaken your way of thinking?
What has shaken me? Well, there was a post that I saw a couple days ago, and this woman was able to articulate what I felt, but never really thought about why. And she was saying that when she comes into professional settings or anywhere that she has to speak or do anything, she's fully about wearing dresses, because she realized like the energy of wearing pants and like having a tight, you know how it feels when like stuff is like digging into you and it's not comfortable and it doesn't feel right. And she was like, this is not letting my feminine energy be radiant and what it needs to be. And I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. I would have never said that. I'm just like, yeah, a dress is easy. You put it on. It's one piece of clothing, simple. But when she was articulating like why she felt and the way that you hold yourself, your posture, the way that you sit in a dress is different than how you sit in pants and all of these things. And she just went down the little list of why this was like a practice for her. And I was like, now that's
I love
cool.
it.
As I read it, I was like, yes. She said something like, drop a little flower if you agree. And I was like, yes, I do agree.
I do. I have several flowers.
Right. And you just put words to what I've kind of always felt, but I never really thought about, well, why do I like to wear dresses or things that flow on my body in certain situations? And she was able to say it. So it was kind of cool, I thought.
I love that. As I sit here in a dress, I'm all about the dress for whatever the situation. For me, I'm definitely just thinking about AI, like, all the time and all the things and all its potential and what's happening in our world. I mean, that's what's shaking me at the moment. I went to a legal conference where they were just talking about the future AI and law and all of the amazing opportunities and how much better and more efficient and more effective it's going to make helping people get access to the legal help they need. So that's definitely what I love
it. So you're in the excited about AI, not
yes.
in the okay.
I mean, and I think everybody else should be. If you can't beat them, join them. It's coming,
right?
Regardless,
it's here.
It's here. Law is a little slower. It's happening, but I think that the entire legal landscape is going to look completely different in 5 years. So it's just like my brain is definitely in that spot. Okay. With that, I would say that's been my dominant thought is kind of the same thing. So one thing I've realized is that we seem to have like for days or a week or whatever, like one thing that's on our mind that we're really thinking about. And for me, that is AI and the future of all of that. Has there been a dominant thought for you recently that's just like in the forefront of your mind you've been thinking about?
Yes, I have. And matter of fact, I'm going to record a podcast episode about it because as I was thinking about it, I was like, there's a lot to uncover here. And the thought that has been sitting with me is like, and I'll speak for myself, I won't say women, but why have I viewed the word leverage as a dirty word? Like, why do I feel like that's something negative or something I don't want to do? It's interesting. I had a conversation with someone who's like a mentor to me, and she's a best-selling author, and she has tons of people on her social media, and she goes, you need to leverage your face. That's what she said to me. And that completely took me back. Like, wait, what? And she was like, no. She was like, you're attractive, leverage that. You need to be making face-to-camera videos. And I was like, but it's not about my face. It's about the work and it's about the message. And she was like, okay, yes. And if you have this perceived advantage, you need to leverage that. And the conversation has just been sitting with me of like, well, she's absolutely right. And more beyond just like, okay, you leverage your face, but I started to think about it in a lot of different areas, my network, leveraging experiences that I've had or social proof of things that I've done. I was at a conference and I mentioned after the conference was over, we were talking about music and everything that I had danced with Beyonce. And the organizer was like, wait, what? Like, you didn't say that. You were just on my podcast. I would have put that in the title. Why are we just finding this out? You need to leverage that. So I feel like it's been coming up a few times for me. And so I'm really just sitting with, why is it that that's something that I've seen as negative or been hesitant to do?
It's so interesting. Like, you've got your things you've got down pat. For me, the word leverage, I'm like, I'm going to use every tool available to me to get where it used to feel survival energy, like even as I'm saying that, like to get where I need to get to. And I think of that one as like just the tools and opportunities out there and available. I know there's always more room to do more with that, but taking these connections, and I don't mean necessarily connections with other people, but just the available connections out there in the ether, and putting them together to accomplish some other thing. I mean, that's a podcast. Now, where can people follow your podcast? I want to listen to this one. So tell them about that.
It is on Spotify, Body Intelligence with Lily Shepard.
Okay. Awesome. Lily is, sentence for sentence, one of the most wise, insightful, thoughtful people. And here's the thing I can tell y'all. She lives this out. It's not BS. It is lived in her own life. Her book, Pleasure Principles for Driven Women, right? Some of the stuff in there was like, I've never heard anybody say it like this. And it's life-changing. And I know for me, like even some of just the posts that you share, I've said to you, or like I get an email and I'll email you back, like those emails that people send out, the marketing ones. I'm like, Lily, this was really good. Like this is amazing. So y'all are going to want to do all that with her. Okay. Last question for you. So if you could only give one piece of advice to the women out there of divorce land, what would you tell them?
Do your best to focus on who you're becoming. Do your best to make that the focus throughout the process. Use it as an anchor, even in the really tough spots, right? Even if you're not all the way through the process and you're in some spots that are really tough and really tricky, try to just do your best to focus on who it is that you are becoming, as opposed to who it is that you're leaving behind, because you are leaving a version of yourself behind.
And the life you want will cost you the life you got. And I think for me, and I would just add to that, right? Like, or, say additionally that there are different layers of this, because if you're in the thick of divorce and it's really shitty, who you can envision for yourself is, let's say, 5 steps forward. And then once you get those 5 steps and whoop, you've collapsed that and you are her, guess what? The top of the mountain shows you that you're really just at the bottom of the next one. And some people can say that's discouraging. Like, no, that means you keep climbing to the next space. Like the person I am now and the life I have now, the me in the middle of my divorce would have never imagined. I would have never dreamed that I would have more money than my bills cost every month. Literally, I thought that was for other people. I didn't think that was a me. I'm not a rich person. Like, I always just thought I was going to have to work and have just kind of enough money to make it work, and always have a little bit of credit card debt, and always just kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. That was, my life experience. That's just how I thought it was going to go. So like, I couldn't go from the depths of divorce to wishing to be a gajillionaire. Okay. So like, give yourself some grace to who you can imagine now. That's the thing is, it's such good news. That ain't it.
Exactly.
Because the Robert Frost poem, right, of 2 words diverged in a yellow wood, and one of it talks about, and way leads on to way. Because once you take this fork in the road, y'all, way leads on to way. Like each new step in your journey, it's like the butterfly effect movie. It just continues to sprout and new things continue to come up. And then this new version of you, if you saw her on the street today, you would not believe it's you, right? Like with all of those things that's possible. I only can tell you that now because it's literally happened to me. If somebody would have told me that, but like by now, hopefully y'all trust me and believe me. Like I'm telling you, the best possible life you can imagine right now, you can go beyond that because you don't have the necessary experience to even conceptualize it yet. And then as you get along the path, new doors open up to you and new experiences and new journeys, new relationships, new abundance, new pleasure, all of that opens up and you're like, oh, I didn't know it could be like this. Well, if this is possible, could that be possible? And that's the journey. I think we can ask people 20 years older than us, but like, I think that's the journey for the rest of life is if it could be this good, could it get that good? And I'm listening to what you're saying, Lily, where I am right now and these big decisions and like this big universe and world I'm working on building of like stepping into that person, right? And I'm doing it all over again and it feels shaky and it feels unsure and like, but me, what do you like, but do you understand? I'm from East Texas. Like, I don't think the same stuff comes up all over again. I'm just a lot more adept at being like, oh, okay, I see you. I see you limiting beliefs.
Exactly.
Welcome. Have a seat. We're still going. I like it. I'm calling this straight in. We're doing best case scenario. All right. That's what we're going to leave you with, everybody who's listening to this show. On this show, we do best case scenario. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you, Hannah.